Hello there. Welcome to this session, Solving Tactics on ChessTempo.com. I'm actually doing 1800 to 1900 this time. This will be my first time doing this. I was gonna do just a little practice session, try to get myself comfortable doing to 1800 to 1900. But then I started solving this particular problem, and I started talking to myself anyways. So I figured, why the hell not do a video? So here I was thinking rook g1 check, and if king h8, I would have queen takes h7 check, and if king takes h7, rook h3 checkmate. The problem is, after rook g1, there's king f7. So rook g1, king f7, queen takes h7 check, king e8, king e8. And then it's difficult to find something productive to do. I'd like to just play queen takes h7 immediately. Queen takes h7, king takes h7, rook g1, but then e5 covers the h3 square. My master plan is over. I could play rook h3 directly. Rook h3 directly. f5. Queen check. Rook h3, f5. There's rook g1 check. There's also queen g3 check. Rook h3, f5, queen g3 check. King f7, rook takes h7, king e8. King e8 forced. Queen g6 check. Rook d8, and then rook takes d4 check. Should seal it. Alright, yeah. So rook h3, f5, pretty much forced, right? h5 would just prolong the pain. h5, rook takes h5. So f5, queen g3 check, f7 forced, rook takes h7, king e8 forced, queen g6 check, rook f7 checkmate immediately, so king d8. And then rook takes d4 should be checkmate after. Well, no, it's not. I guess there is queen d7, but queen d7, rook d7 check, because the other rook is on h7, covering that square. All right, so rook h3. No. So this does work. So after f5, okay. Okay. f5. Okay. So rook h3 doesn't work because what? Rook f7, duh. The simplest defense. God, what a retard. To be fair, I considered the winning move. I even saw the winning line, but okay, bishop e5 check. Doesn't seem to do it. Bishop h6, rook g8. Bishop g5, bishop g5, rook g8, queen, bishop h6 check, or bishop f7 revealed check. Yeah, so bishop g5 is what I'm leaning towards. Bishop g5, f4, bishop f6 check, bishop g5, rook g8, bishop f6 check, bishop g5, king g8, bishop e7 check, king h8. Yeah, bishop g5 seems very convincing to me. Is there something better that I can do? Bishop h6 not working because of rook g8. So yeah, bishop g5. Hmm. Queen takes h7, not working. Queen f6 check, not working. Bishop e5 check, d takes e5, not working. Rook g7, queen takes g7, not working. So this must mean that there's something more winning. Wait. Bishop h6. Well, why would I play bishop h? Bishop. Okay, so I see now that bishop h6 does have a good point. Bishop h6, rook g8. There's rook takes g8, queen takes g8, queen f6 check. Bishop h6, rook g8, rook takes g8, king takes g8, queen g5 check. King back to h8. So what the fuck's the point? Yeah, bishop g5 just seems like such a good... Bishop g5, rook f8 is the problem, isn't that? Isn't it? What about bishop h6, rook g8, rook takes g8, king takes g8, and then queen d8 check? Yeah, bishop h6. If rook g5, rook f8 seems to cover. Although I suppose I could play bishop e7, winning the exchange. But if bishop h6, I'm threatening to win the queen. With bishop g7 check, because bishop g7 check, king g8, bishop f6 check, king f8, queen h6 checkmate can't be allowed. Bishop g7, queen takes, or queen g7, queen takes g7, obviously. So I am, if with bishop h6, I am threatening checkmate. So rook g8 is forced. I can play rook takes g8. If queen takes g8, bishop g7, I win the queen. Actually, I checkmate, don't I? Queen takes g7, then queen d8 check. The queen's forced back to g8, and then I take on g8, supported by the rook. So yeah, bishop, I'll just... What? So I considered this, but I just decided that... I did. It was one of the first moves that I considered, but okay. I saw e5 and I didn't see bishop takes e5. Bishop h6, and if rook g8, I would have rook takes g8, queen takes g8, queen. God, fucking. Bishop h6 deserves to be an alternate, I believe. Unless, oh, I'm already down material. Oh my god, my rating, my poor rating. So f6. f6, and if takes, checkmate. f6, f6, h6, queen h5, king h7, bishop f5, check. Um, bishop f5, rook takes, so no. Rook f5, queen takes, rook takes check. Rook takes check, king h8. And rook g8 check's not working. So how to finish the deal? Okay, he still can't take, right? So I could play queen h5. Queen h5 with the idea of rook f5. Queen h5 threatening rook f5. He could play king h8, but then I could play bishop f4. So queen h5, rook takes, and that's just a full rook. Next problem. So I'm pinned. Knight e5 is one way to unpin. Knight b2, knight takes b2. Knight takes b2, rook takes c4, rook takes f8, check, king takes f8. So knight e2, or knight e5. Knight e5 I think is better because it also threatens knight f3 check. Knight e5, rook takes, not on. He needs to play queen b3. He needs to play queen b3 or queen e2. Then I can play rook takes d2. Rook takes d2. Queen f6. Knight e5, queen b3 or queen e2. Knight e5, queen e2. Rook takes d2. Rook takes d2 forced. Queen f6. King g2. Wait. There's queen c6. Yes, this is it. Queen c6. Hitting f3, threatening the check, and also hitting the knight on a4. That's the move. So it goes knight e5, and if queen e2, rook takes b2, queen c6, hitting the knight on a4 and threatening the fork on f3. But then he could take on e5, no? He could take on e5. With the queen, rather, like being the point. So let's see. We would have knight e5, queen d2. Can I play queen c6 immediately? Knight e5, queen e2. And if I play queen c6, he could play rook takes d8 then. So I have to take on d2 first. Rook takes d2, then queen c6, but then if then queen c6, knight e5, queen takes e5, queen takes a4 equality. There's queen b1 check. Knight e5, queen e2, rook takes d2, rook takes d2, queen b1 check. Queen b1 check. King g2. Queen takes a2. Queen takes a2, knight c5. Seems to be okay. Knight e5, queen e2. The immediate queen c6 doesn't work. Rook takes d2, rook takes d2. Then queen 6, I can't get that to work. Knight takes f2, not knight takes f2, rook takes d8, knight h3 check. Knight takes b2, same story. Knight takes b2. Well, knight takes b2 if knight takes b2, knight takes b2. Knight takes b2 is met by rook 8, knight a4 takes b2, and I'm winning nothing. Knight e5, queen e2. There's no in-between move. Nothing to support my knight, maybe. No, I just don't see it. Knight e5, queen e2, and rook takes d2, rook takes d2, and queen c6 just doesn't work. Queen c6, queen e5. Queen takes a4. No. So knight e5. Rook takes d2. So now queen c6 doesn't work. Queen b1 check, king g2 doesn't work. Knight d3. I wonder if queen b1 check, king g2, knight b3 works. If queen c6, I see now what, this is it. Queen c6, queen takes, queen check, queen takes d2. That was present in all of the lines that I was calling out, but I just couldn't see queen c1 check. It's the exact same position, but I couldn't see queen c1 check. Very basic check. That's disappointing. Very disappointing. So bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, knight takes d5. There's bishop takes e5, queen takes e5. There's bishop takes e2, queen takes e2. There's bishop takes e2, queen takes e6 check, bishop e7, queen b8 check, perpetual. But bishop takes e2. Bishop takes e2, queen takes e2. And then I would have bishop h6 check. Bishop d2, queen a1 checkmate. But of course that wouldn't be played. What would be played is bishop e2, queen takes d5 check, bishop e7, queen b8 check, then he could play bishop queen takes e2, and there's no longer the threat of bishop h6. So is there some better way to do this? What if I play bishop h6 right away? Still bishop e5 check. Knight takes d5, queen takes check, knight e7. Queen takes h8 or queen b8 check, bishop c8, and then bishop takes h8. Too dangerous. Bishop takes e2, not working. Well, bishop takes e2, I guess there's... If bishop takes e2, queen takes e5 check, I'm not forced to play bishop e7. I could play king d7. Not king d8, it's when queen f6 comes with check, but king d7. And she has no follow-up checks. And I'm threatening checkmate on h6. Or I'm threatening checkmate with h6. Yeah, bishop takes e2, queen takes e5 check, king d7. You need to solve bishop takes d1, you need to solve bishop h6 check, you need to solve queen a1 check. Okay, I think this is playable. Bishop e2, and if queen takes e2, obviously checkmate. If queen takes e5, king d7, still checkmate. Need to play something like b3. Then I would have bishop takes d1. And if rook takes d1, I'm just clearly better. Knight e4. Knight e4. What's the threat? Knight e4, if queen takes, obvious, the threat is obvious. I considered this move, but I didn't think it. I thought bishop e2 was better. Because I didn't see a follow-up. Knight e4. So bishop e2, queen takes check, king d7. And how is he going to stop bishop h6 check? So here the direct threat, knight c3, pawn takes. Pawn takes is forced. Queen a3 check. I don't see the direct threat here. I think it's still combined with bishop takes e2 or something. Oh, the threat is checkmate with queen a1 check. Yeah. So knight d2 threatens checkmate. Okay. All right, so knight d2 threatens the immediate checkmate. You have to cover. And now you again have checkmate, winning the queen. Okay. That wasn't some. I didn't see that he was required to take. Check. Takes, promotes, check from the bishop. Queen takes. c3. Bishop takes c3. Bishop takes c3. c1 queens. Rook d1 check. Queen takes c3. Doesn't work. Rook d1 immediately doesn't work. Rook d3 doesn't work. Rook d7 check. King g6. Ooh. Rook d7 check. King g6. Rook g7 check. Okay, or just rook d7 check and then king c and bishop c1, right? Rook d7 check, king g6, rook g7 check, king h5, bishop c1. No? Apparently not. Balls. That was what I had. That was my idea. Rook d1 doesn't work. Rook d2 doesn't work. Rook d3 does not work. Rook d7 check. It's so. Oh. Bishop takes c3, c1 queens, rook d1 check. Does not work. Bishop e1 also doesn't work because of c5. The immediate bishop c1. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Bishop c3, c1 queens. Rook d1 check seems clever, but queen takes c3 just sort of ends the party. Rook c4 doesn't work. Rook c4. Oh, rook c4. Whoa, wait. Rook c4. Rook c4. Rook c4. Rook c4. If pawn takes, bishop takes check. Rooks. I like my variation better. I like rook. But yeah, I mean rook c4 does have its point, doesn't it? Rook c4, and if c1 queens, I'll have bishop takes, rook takes check, rook takes c1, and I'm up a rook. Rook c1, and if pawn takes, I'll have bishop takes check, king g6, d3, or bishop d2, c takes b, b takes, c takes b, a takes b. So takes, now pawn takes, and bishop b2. I considered this, but I didn't like it. But yeah, I think rook d7 check is so much better. This is such a much more clear win, you know? And this is not the line that I would have gone for. I would have gone for tricks with rook g7 check, rook d7 check, rook d7 check, king g6, rook g7 check is the move that I would want to play. Then I would have played c1, bishop c1. Which feels like a much more direct way to get the pawn going. You know? Rook h7 check, rook h6 checks, the rook can come over to c7. This rook's not really doing much. You know, rook d3, rook can be met with king e2. Feels much better. But what do I know? Okay, I can move my king anywhere, or my rook anywhere, and threaten to win the knight. For example, rook b6. I can also move anywhere on the c file. I can move anywhere on the 6th rank. So rook h6, knight takes a7. In all of these variations, knight takes h7 is the main problem, isn't it? Wait, but no, after knight takes a7 is going to cover the c6 square. So I wouldn't have rook takes a4. I could play a8 queens. A8 queens. Okay, yeah. A8 queens, rook takes a8, and then I could play rook h6, threatening bishop takes a8, as well as bishop c6 check. So a8 queens, rook takes a8, bishop h6, covering rook h8 check. So bishop h6 or rook h6, and now if rook b8, If rook b8, bishop c6 check, king c7, I have nothing. I think a8 check is still the way to go. What about a8 check? a8 check, rook takes a8, rook b6, rook h8 check, king g1, and she gets away. If rook h6 check, if rook h6 first, knight takes a7, knight takes a7, rook h7 check, rook c6 doesn't work, rook, ooh, hey, what about rook c4? Rook c4, if rook takes c4, a8 queens, rook c4, and if knight takes a7, rook takes a4, and if rook takes a7, bishop c6 check. Yeah. That one's difficult. That's a very difficult one, man. That's a very complicated tactic. Of course, it's the obvious move when you consider that at this level, all of the problems are just like the throw all your material in your opponent's face and eventually you win. But whatever. All right, let's calm down here for a minute. I think I'm gonna call this session to an end. I got like what 3 of them wrong. I'm not doing so well, to be honest. I'm not very happy with that. But it wasn't like it was my worst session. I've had worse sessions than this on sets that I felt confident about. After I was sick. So we'll leave it there, and I'll let that stand as my first 1800 to 1900 session. Not the best, not the worst. So I hope you enjoyed that little session. I hope you learned a little something. I hope you liked watching me make an idiot of myself. And let's return next time to do it all over again. Take care for now. Toodles.